Hello, and welcome to the first of 4 Sunday sessions of Changeling the Lost, one of my favorite World of Darkness setting. Actually, it's my favorite World of Darkness setting by far. And this is a PbtA adaptation that I wrote a while back, and it has gotten streamlined each time we've run it. Patrick, Tyler, Sherry have all contributed significantly to cutting on this. It is still outrageously ornamental and huge, but it's good, and we've had some great sessions of play out of it. Today we're going to be doing character creation. We're going to be doing initial incidents, and I'm going to be walking through what the sort of background is and so on if you're watching this. And if you're watching this, this is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. The Gauntlet Hangouts, that name comes from the old Google Hangouts. It is an artifact of that, but I can't bear yet to change that name. But it is an online gaming community. We have a calendar app that works with that, and you can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. So I'm going to go through my CATS document. And again, I'm going to be talking for a while, and I apologize. This is that early steps of the session where I go through a lot of things. So the concept is that our characters are people who have escaped from a terrifying mythic realm known as the Hedge. And they were taken there by forces that we call the gentry, that they call the gentry. They are the true fae. They are our big mythic figures who have these realms that exist within the Hedge. And our PCs were taken and made to serve these gentry. And in the process of that change, were transformed. And they managed to escape. They managed to escape and find their way back to the real world, and they have been transformed by their experience, gained new abilities, which we'll talk about after a bit, but they are also still hunted. They are still hunted by the gentry. They also still live in fear of that. Now I'm going to pause here and make sure that Jamie is still with us because her image is frozen. So Jamie, are you still there? We will pause here while we see if we can get her, get them back on the channel. I usually associate this kind of thing with Patrick and StreamYard.
Rude. Very true, but rude.
Or Jitsi.
Or really anything after about 2 hours.
That's fair enough. That is fair enough. Well, we'll take that pause. Oh, that's a good sign. That's progress. So I discovered, and you all may have already seen this, that when I posted, hey, you can now post games for April, I wrote, you can not post games for April.
Oh no. That is a meaningful typo.
I was like, there are many typos I could have made, but that was probably the worst. So I had to go back in and carefully mark that up. I had to find out what the strike through mark out is, and it's double tilde.
Weird.
Double tilde in front and after is strike through on things.
You'd think a single would have sufficed.
No, single is something else. But I can't remember. I always have to look these things up.
Yeah, I really just remember bold and italics because that's the one it prompts you with.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So I'm
Sherry.
going to ask the most important question as
Absolutely.
we wait. Patrick, did you pick your picture yet? We have a running bet of whether you've chosen the same picture as I have.
I have not.
Okay.
If you're going with fairest, I mean probably not, but
Okay.
nothing's ruled out.
All right. I found mask and me. So.
While we're here, Robert, do you have any questions about the playbooks or about the setting or things you want to know about? Or have you lean towards ogre? I think in discussion.
Yeah, that's what I'm leaning toward. I don't think I have any specific questions right now. It's just kind of a lot.
Yes.
So I think I just need to get into it. I'm not really familiar with World of Darkness at all. So I started reading up on it, and it's one of those things I'm just like, I got lost very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Like I played one of the vampire, like the very first vampire PC game, which was not great.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was it. So yeah, I poked through the playbooks. I read what I could online. Actually, there was a very helpful article on TV Tropes about Changeling the Lost. So that helped.
Nice.
Well, if Rich Rogers can come in and survive the info dump, then anyone can. So I think we should be good. And we'll introduce things slowly as we go along. Patrick, what are you leaning towards playbook wise?
I had wanted to hold off just because I've played most of the playbooks and see what like other people chose. But obviously that did not stop my mind from gravitating towards an idea. I told myself, I was like, well, I haven't played Ogre or Beast, so I should try one of those, and that was not it. I couldn't find an Ogre idea to hook me in yet, and it's just not a good time to play a Beast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of thinking about a Darkling at the moment, which is, very me. But I'll wait and see if Jamie has a particular preference.
She had to restart her router. So
oh God.
I have been there. I may have told this story before, but for a very long time we used the AT&T internet. We were having weird hiccups, and it would drop. And I was finally like, I need a technician to come out. I need a router replaced. I need to do this. And they came out and they replaced the router. But he was also like, can I look at your phone lines? And I'm like, sure, absolutely. And so we go down to the basement, and this is an old house. We go to the basement, and we wind our way over to, there's a place in the basement where your phone lines go to, where they've got the little nubs, and the phone lines connect up to it. And we looked at it, and there were dozens of wires there. Like, no idea that there were all of these phone lines connected to our thing. And he was like, how many phone lines do you have? And I'm like, we have one. He's like, I think I may have found your problem. I'm going to unhook all of these and just hook up the ones you need. And once he did, it cleaned it all up. But the house had been owned by people who had been very much DIY. And there were a lot of things that we discovered over the course of owning this house that had been done to the house, like very support struts cut into to make way for other things, and to floor the lovely wood floor that had been cut into with a saw for some reason.
A circular saw.
Circular saw.
Like clearly because there was like, it was deeper in one part, and then of course kind of came out in that moon thing where they just like stuck it in the floor and then decided to do something else.
I think that they were cutting wood on the floor or something on the floor and just cut through. It was bizarre.
Yeah, I have friends right now who are dealing with the fact that the people who owned the house before them decided that it should really have a much more like open floor plan without considering things like what was holding up the roof.
That's oof.
Yeah.
Well, I've mentioned this before as well. The house next door to us, it sold a year plus ago, and a few months after it sold, they construction crew came in and started to do renovations. They are still doing renovations. They are still tearing things out. They they were still roofing just a few weeks ago. It's I don't know what they're doing.
But they're not done with that. There's still all the catch boards up there for
Oh, yeah.
the roofers and stuff. So who knows? It's like there's never a contractor there that like puts their sign out like with any kind of thing, and they all have like out of state license plates and stuff. So I don't know if like the contractor just brings in the cheapest person
Yeah.
in the country they can
And,
find it.
and not like out of state like the adjoining state, like out of state like Colorado and Wyoming. And I'm like, we're in
What is
Indiana.
wrong with this house?
I don't know.
Well, I
but-
mean, it's a century old, but
Yes.
it,
What we heard is that someone from California bought it and had been planning on turning it into rental property, which you can't do in our neighborhood. So I think there's
Hello.
something that hello. That's okay. I was telling stories of our internet hijinks, so it's all good. All right, so
Exactly, introductions, my bad. Anyway,
it's okay.
thank you.
People that have escaped from the hedge, you've escaped from there, you've been transformed by your experience there, and you're still in fear of what are called the keepers, what are called the gentry. Our storyline is going to explore this. It's both to be about the sort of fantastic life and the weirdness of our city and our setting, but also about our characters' struggles between fear and trying to live their daily lives and their past lives and their present lives, and what is called their mien, which is their sort of true appearance and true self, and the mask being a face that they show to mortals and to the outside world. The tone is a little dark, but it is hopeful. I wouldn't say it's grimdark, and it is not a story of villains, as we might get in something like Vampire from World of Darkness. It is a story about people trying to survive and create a new family, and so on in this new world. So it is about bonding together. That's an important portion of the tone, and we're going to talk about how that gets resolved. Part of what that's going to be is us setting our tools, setting our safety tools. We will be using the X card as a base default. And with all of you, I know you're all familiar with that. That is one thing we can do. And I do want to again stress a couple of things about the X card. It can be said verbally, it can be sent as a message, whatnot. It can be for tone. If you find that something is way off tone and you're finding that problematic, that is a reasonable thing to do. Also, if something happens a couple of times and the first couple of times you're like, I'm okay with that, but then later on it bugs you, you're like, I'm less comfortable with it now. It is absolutely legit to X card it at a later point. There's nothing where you've gone past something where you have no way to go back. You always have the right to do that. The other thing we have is lines and veils. And to help with that, we have a lines veils tab in the character keeper. Throughout the character creation process, I encourage you to go there and look and mark something as a line if you want it as this is not something we're going to deal with at the table, or a veil if it's something that when we hit it, we're going to fade to black on it. And feel free to add in additional items that are there. When we go through, when I read through eventually the lines and veils, I will forget if somebody has marked spiders. This has happened multiple times. I don't know why. But if that gets marked, I will forget about it, but we will try to remember. We're going to be talking about our changelings. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, open door. This can be a game where we have characters that have significant emotional investment in those characters. If at any point that gets too much, it's feel free to step away and come back if you want to. If you need to do that, you're absolutely legit to do that. That is not a problem. So we have our changelings. They live in a modern city. We assume that there are these 4 courts that exist: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And these courts have kind of an emotional resonance. They have a theme that goes along with them. The court of spring is about celebration and partying and so on, and enjoying themselves. Summer tends towards being the court of protection and violence and warfare and strength. Autumn is about mysteries, magic, and strangeness. And winter is about hiding. Winter is about protection and hiding and so on. We have these 4 courts, and the reason the courts exist is because together, having these 4 courts in what is called the freehold, the gathering of the changelings, is kind of a ritual, a sort of a pact magic that is done by all the changelings to provide some protection. It helps provide at least some warding, some barrier against the gaze of the gentry, against the gaze of the keepers. It's not perfect, but it is an important ritual for the daily lives, which is why they exist. And there is typically a prince, male or female, of each of the courts, and there are people who are courtiers, people who have positions, ranks within that. And each of our changelings will have a guise, essentially a seeming, and they will also belong to one of those 4 courts. It's possible for everyone to be from the same court, because that kind of ties people together, what was called a motley, our group, or they can be from different courts. As you may have seen, if you've looked through the character keeper, I've given some example names for reference, and then I've actually got pictures of all the NPCs that are named are on the NPC tabs there, and so you can see that there. So with that in mind, I want to talk about what kind of city we might want here. Let's stop here, and I'm going to check in with Jamila again. I'm hoping that their internet has not caused problems.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Well, I think we are going to press on just to talk about maybe the kind of city that we would like. Sherry, do you have any thoughts? You've played quite a bit of Changeling so far. Do you think we should choose a concrete city? Should we make a more abstract city? What do you feel?
It's interesting. I don't know. I think to some extent we need to check with the group and go how involved do we want to be with the city itself? I mean, it always brings its character, but do we want something that picks up a theme that we're thinking about with our characters, or do we want to build our characters into the theme of the city?
Is a good question. Patrick, any thoughts on that? Should we build the characters first and then figure out the city? Or should we think about the city first?
I'm not sure. I think, well, we should probably think about the city sub first.
Okay.
I was thinking over like past games that we played and sort of where Changeling or World of Darkness tends to go. And it tends to like veer far away from the mortal. Like vampire games are very interested in the mortal world, but Changeling games tend to go off into the weirdness, which I love. But I think it would be interesting to explore how the Changelings not just deal with the weird world, but how they have to walk in the normal mortal world as well.
World connections. Robert, thoughts on that? City kind of things that you like in other games that you've played?
I mean, I would like, I mean, especially since I'm so new to it, I would like to see maybe some kind of concrete city. I mean, just something that I can ground myself in, for us to walk in the mortal world, so that it's not 100% or actually like 120% abstract crazy.
I have a suggestion I want to throw out there as a city that's we've done a lot of cities that have been pretty dark. Detroit, Chicago. We did Atlantic City. Those are all very dark and cold places. I was thinking maybe a city that is a little brighter, maybe San Diego. It's a coastal city. It's a crossroads for the Pacific. It's a crossroads for Latin America. It's a wild, diverse city that is both diverse and super conservative in a strange way. And it's bright and sunny as opposed to the sort of the oppressive wet darkness that we've seen elsewhere. What do you think? Sherry, what do you think?
Well, but there's nothing about the city that sort of forces you into the city, if that makes any sense.
That's true. Can you? Well, what would be an alternative?
LA?
We could do Los Angeles.
I mean, where everything is about driving and getting there and getting there to your destination. I mean, Hollywood and all that stuff, something like that. Where maybe where maybe we aren't the biggest wheeler dealers.
That's a possibility. I'd also would throw out Las Vegas as a possibility then too.
Las Vegas is good. Las Vegas is good because it's got lots of theme.
Mm-hmm.
Have you played Changeling in Las Vegas, Patrick?
I've not played Changeling in Las Vegas, but I'm currently playing a Scion game that started in Las Vegas, and it was, it's very good for just mindfuck weird supernatural themes. It in LA also hit that sort of like bright, happy party atmosphere, which intrigued me about New Changeling, because for New World of Darkness Changeling, they chose Miami as their like central city, and that always like sort of surprised me that this dark, creepy game about like post-traumatic stress was set in this like party vacation city. And so both LA and Vegas hit that same sort of like, there's sun and there's happiness and there's neon and there's people, drinking and having parties and everything's great sort of thing.
Well, hey.
Oh, welcome back again.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I hope you guys are pausing all the time for me.
Oh no, we're talking about the city, and I think we have like narrowed it down to either Los Angeles or Las Vegas as the two choices there.
Gambling or Hollywood?
Gambling or Hollywood. Do either of those appeal more strongly to you or to Robert?
I like the idea of Hollywood because of this whole like people acting, putting on different characters and faces. But how about you, Robert?
I mean, I was leaning more toward Vegas just because I've been there. So I don't really have too strong of an opinion one way or the other.
Let me see. I haven't done Los Angeles, so let's do Los Angeles. Let's do Los Angeles with idea of the Hollywood as sort of the backdrop, um, and the weirdness there, and it's sprawling enough that there can be lots of different things going on there. So with that in mind, let's talk about characters and our seemings. So Sherry, you said Fairest.
Only because I've never played it, so I hope that you'll all be patient with me.
And Robert, Ogre.
Yep.
And Patrick refused to say until Jamie, until you made your choice. So you have it's narrowed down to 4 for you.
Yeah, I'm so drawn to the darkness of the Darkling. Like, yeah, I keep coming back to it.
Okay, then let's have you do Darkling. Patrick, that leaves you Beast, Elemental, and I'm also I know some people say it wizened. I say wizened. I'm not going. That's just how I've always said it. Patrick, could you work with one of those?
Yeah. And just for reference, I'm going to say wizard, that it's not a judgment on your pronunciation like it normally is when I do that. It's just, again, that's how it's stuck in my head.
Fair enough.
Either wizard or elemental. Give me a minute to think.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going to set all of you loose on doing that character creation. And what that's going to involve is go ahead and take your tab, and you can change the name of the tab to your name so we know who has a hold of it. And let me talk about what's going to be involved with that. You're going to choose your court. You'll choose your kith, which is just the name of the kind of ogre or beast or elemental that you are. There are some examples in the just below the intro questions, which is in the 3rd major column, very down at the bottom. This is merely a color thing. It doesn't apply to moves or anything like that. You will set your stats, and there should be a little set of numbers written in on the right hand side of them. You get +2, +1, +1, +0, +0, and -1 for your stats. Now, this is a game where, for the most part, when you go to roll, I'll be asking you, what are you rolling with? What's your feeling? What is your emotion? What's your state that is guiding this? And that is what you will roll with. And as you might ask, as Rich Rogers always asks, why wouldn't I roll with my best stat all the time? And that is because one of the possibilities, if you fail, is that you will have your stat marked, because that's how we track harm, and then you won't be able to roll with it. So that is the track there. You get your starting move. That's default for each of your seemings. You'll get 2 other moves, and those are all drop downs. There are the drop downs for your seeming, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, God, there's a ton of them. Again, ornamental. There are moves that come from different courts. So if you chose Summer Court, you could take a Summer Court move. But usually your seeming moves are more interesting and more fun because they reflect who you are. Once you've done that, I've got some example entanglements, a romantic and general. You'll choose one from each. And I've got some example names down below that allows us to rope in some NPCs and so on. We can work through that. So I'm going to stop talking and let you all get working on that. And I'm going to sit here uncomfortably. And if you have questions, just shout out.
Oh, sorry. How many moves do we pick? Like, I asked when you put food in your mouth. Sorry.
You will
One.
get your starting move, and then you'll pick 2 more.
Okay, got it.
Question. Can you remind me what glamour is? Like if something refers to having a glamour source?
So the fuel for the changeling's life and magic and so on is called glamour, and it can be put into objects and held concretely. But what it is it's drawn from the strong emotions of mortals. Essentially, going to a party is a way to generate glamour. Being around when someone is witnessing great sorrow is a way to generate glamour. And in this game, we represent that as sometimes you use up your glamour and you have to go and find and describe a way that you're restoring it for yourself.
Okay, yeah, because I was looking at the warden move, and it, you choose 2 tags, and one of them was glamour source, so that would just be, I'm around glamour a lot, or
Yeah, you have a particular source that is vital and present and hard to break your connection to. I'm going to step away for a moment to get some coffee. I'll be right back. One mechanic I'll mention too while it occurs to me is we use a variation on corruption from Urban Shadows. It's called Clarity, which is a mechanic in the original Changing the Lost. Essentially, that certain moves, certain actions have you mark clarity. When you fill your clarity track, you kind of have a breakdown. We talk about what happens at that point. It just does allow you to make to get a move from the list of clarity moves and potentially some special abilities. Because it's a short run game, when something says mark clarity, you will actually mark to clarity. I'm going to give you a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to come around and have you do introductions, and then just to be about kind of who you are, what you've chosen as moves, that kind of thing. We'll hold off on the entanglement questions until we've got everyone introduced and got that set. All right, I'm going to come around. This will be the sort of first round of introductions. I know people don't have everything in yet, but we'll do that. Um, and Sherry, this will be the one session where I make you go first. We will rotate this.
Okay.
But I have to ask you, do you have a name for your character?
No, why? I haven't. I have everything else. I have a rich backstory. But I do not have a name that is exactly what I want.
Well, I'll let you come up with your name in a
I
second.
know that her name is Victoria.
Okay, then. Okay. So tell us about Victoria then.
All right.
The reason I say that is because when I get to Patrick, I don't want him to be ambushed by me asking for the name as I do each time.
Yes, exactly. We have to remember. Okay, so Victoria, she appears to be a very elegant, older woman. She is impeccably dressed and seems that she knows exactly what she's about. In truth, she's a fairist, and her kith is figurehead. I wanted someone who was put out there as a leader, but had absolutely no control over the tactics and strategy that was being employed. All she could do was lead people and try to make that change how the outcome came out. So she has. So her endurance was essentially having. Essentially, she had no control. If that makes any sense, she had less control than she wanted, and though. So essentially, what I built her is I actually think that winter fits well for her. The thing of hiding, because here mostly what she wants is she wants to be needed. And she wants to eventually have control. So she went for winter. It's the weakest court in LA. And it's a strange place that's full of kind of the fakery of the holidays and and any kind of wintry thing. The idea of winter everywhere else in the US is very different than winter in LA. So it has a lot of facade going on when they speak of or present winter in LA. So that was very appealing to her.
And your moves
Oh,
that you
my
took?
moves. Of course, the starting move of a Ferris is center of attention. So long as I interact with someone, I keep their attention, potentially distracting them from other business. I can draw them off to a private location. That effect costs a clarity if I'm dealing with a non-mundane. The target may take a debt or mark harm to extricate themselves. This doesn't work in violent situations, and loud events can disrupt this effect. My other moves that I took was follow the threads, excuse me, which I thought was extremely useful in a place like LA. When you interact for some time with someone to read their web of connections, roll. On a 10 plus, you learn about their 3 closest confidants and a short sentence about the relationship. Alternately, you can learn one confidant and the debt the target has not revealed to others. On a 7 to 9, you can choose to learn about just one confidant or learn all 3, but your target's aware of your workings. And then baleful. Um, so she's also baleful. You can end an attack or interaction with a non-supernatural group or gang by revealing your baleful visage. I can spell it. I can't say it.
Okay.
So mark clarity. The group will hesitate and possibly fall back. At the very least, they cannot continue their current course of action.
So who were you before you got yanked into the hedge, into this durance?
I think that she was a Hollywood wife, someone who was useless and threw parties for their husband. That felt useless. Like she had been extremely well educated and she was set up to be a leader in all of those things, but the dynamics of her household were such that she just couldn't do those things. She had to be there ready to entertain when her husband needed that to go in the business and stuff like that.
And how were you drawn into the hedge? Was it promises, trickery, exploration? What made you go?
I think that, as I said, she needed to be needed. And I'm going to say that she also didn't have children and she thought that that would be a way. And so she had seen a child in their, essentially like on their estate, but didn't know who they were. But she saw them like multiple times over the course of several months. And then, like, she would start like imagining that she was hearing them crying or stuff like that. And then it was just one evening she saw the child and she followed him into another place.
And this realm that you were taken to, where you served your durance, what was it called?
It was um, the Infinite Manor of the Golden. Let's see, it's the Infinite Manor of the Golden Sun, but it was Sun, S-O-N, of course.
Oh.
And essentially, it was this huge sprawling manor, and all of the wings were at war with the other wings because when the Lord came to visit, you had to have their favorite things, and those were limited resources. So you were constantly warring against other sections of the household to get the resources that you needed.
Nice. And what is it that you won't tell anyone, but what is it that you secretly miss about your time there?
The Golden Sun really understood aesthetic and fashion and all of those things. Like she has a super heightened judgy sense, and the way the fabrics fell there was just incredible. It was like the feel and what you wore, even when you're wearing rags, they were the most amazing rags that draped just perfectly. And there's a sort of sense of, of just things here being stiff and
Scratchy,
scratchy.
sackcloth.
Exactly. Everything feels like sackcloth.
Okay. And changelings can draw on all flavors of emotion for their glamour, but what is your preferred emotion? What sings with you?
Sorrow.
Sorrow. And what's your ambition?
I want to be needed. I want to be absolutely key to first the Winter Court and then the Freehold as a whole.
Okay. We will come back and ask about your rival and your entanglements after we've done all the introductions, okay?
Mhm.
Jamie, let's have you go next and tell us about your character.
Yeah, so let's see. My character is a darkling, and what should I start with? I guess the name. I actually came up with one. So I just smashed together Fae sounding things. So their name is Crescent Dreamwraith, but they go by, I guess if they have to have a human name, it's Malika. And so Malika looks exactly like Jamila Jamil from like The Good Place. So when they have their mask on.
Nice.
And let's see. I'm going to start with the intro questions, right?
Sure. Yeah, whichever way you want to go. Let's work with the intro questions.
Yeah. Okay. Like, or do
So-
I do the moves first? Mhm.
I'm good either way. How are you taken? You know, who are you, and then how are you taken? Who are you now?
Yeah. So the story's like super sad. If we need to X card anything, just let me know.
Okay.
I double check the lines and veils. I don't know. Like today, I like making all my characters suffer. It's terrible. So I feel like if we see it visually, if we see it on camera, we're not sure exactly what happened. I think there is a sense that Malika came from a home that didn't entirely want them. I think their mother was having a hard time. But it's one of those things where you never really see the parents in the shot, right? Like you just know bad things are happening. And I think what happened was they wandered off on their own. And I think like what happened was like they were just sort of tempted to go towards the hedge. They didn't know any better. I think they were very young. They were like only 6 years old when that happened. And so there's a sense of like Crescent didn't really have any sense of family or sense of connection, really. And let's see. And they serve their durance at the numberless doors.
Ooh,
I'm
what was
sort of
that?
like, yeah. Is it okay if I just make up what the numberless doors is?
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, I just put
okay.
names in there for
Yeah,
inspiration.
awesome. Yeah, I love the names. They're so good. They feel like they're real. I feel like it looks like a hotel. It looks like a very cramped hotel. There are no numbers. It looks like there's supposed to be numbers. You feel like they used to be there. And every time you open the door in one, it's a completely different room. I feel like it's every single room that leads to a hotel that no longer exists in the real world, like hotels that were like torn down. And so what Crescent was meant to do during their durance was to go to these hotel rooms and sort of like either place people there or find people there. I feel like they had to do something with manipulating memories. I feel like Crescent is trying to force themselves to forget what they did. But of course, it's going to come up very sadly at the right time during the game. And which is why I picked the move Skim the Surface.
Mhm.
When you touch someone, you can read their surface thoughts. I keep thinking about Despair from the Sandman. It's that kind of situation where they can look through these mirrors. That's why the Kith is mirror skin. And because I really wanted Crescent to suffer, I also picked You Don't Scare Me, which means they're going to have a mortal confidant who believes in your cause. but it says here that it's going to go against the Winter Court. So should I unchoose the Winter Court and choose something else, or is it
Oh
okay
no, I
if I
think
make
that
it really
that's
dangerous?
especially problematic. So that's especially good.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted something dangerous. So, but yeah, and so
Are they from your past life? Are they a new person? What's their
right,
relationship?
yeah. I feel like they're from. I think they're like from my past life. They were the girl next door when we were growing up. I think their family tried to be kind to me. They tried to help me, um, but they didn't really know what to do. I do have a feeling that I also keep track of what my past family's doing. Like they have a new family now. My mother is much happier now. I just like watch sadly from the shadows. That's kind of what happens.
So sometimes when you go into the hedge, and when you're taken, the gentry will put a replacement in their place. Did they do that for you, or did you just vanish and they didn't mind, or did something happen to the fetch? What do you think?
Ooh. I think there was a fetch that did replace me. And I think the terrible thing was that they were so different. Like they were much more open and gregarious and friendly and charming. And so there's this idea of, oh, so I just wasn't a good enough child, even though that wasn't the case at all.
Oh.
Yeah. Are we okay with this? I'm checking in with everybody. Like, okay.
Oh, that's great. So let me ask you this: 6 years old, drawn into this, good deal of time. What is it like for them in the real world? Like what is their sort of social experience? How do they? How does that change how they interact with people?
Yeah. I think poor Crescent is just used to seeing people at their worst. Like usually the people who show up at the unnumbered doors, they're like at their lowest lows. So she yeah, so they like have a hard time understanding that there are other emotions at play. And there's a sense of, I feel like Crescent thinks anything that isn't sorrow is not real. Like,
Ooh.
like it's ethereal, like it's not something you can connect to. Maybe she kind of believes in anger a little bit, but they're not very good at it. That's why I put a -1 at anger.
Mm-hmm.
So
and what would be a strangeness, a weird thing happening that, because darklings are drawn to that kind of weird thing. What is a weird thing happening in LA that you're watching?
I think there's something weird happening to the child actors in the area. Like a lot of the child actors and actresses, like it's kind of known, right? When they grow up, weird things happen. I mean, because in real life, we know it's hard growing up in the spotlight. But
right.
But I think in this world, there is something going on, something weird and mysterious. And Crescent is determined to, I think Crescent's very protective of children in general.
Awesome. Okay. That gives us plenty to work with. We will come back and talk about entanglements and rival with you after all the intros are done. Robert, please tell us about your ogre.
Okay, so my ogre's name is Ferris Forgeright, because I love alliteration.
I know you do.
Yeah, I never mean to do it, and then it just appears there on the screen. I don't know how it happens like that. So yeah, Ferris Forgeright. Let's see. I picked the Court of Summer. I thought that made sense. Let's see. Who is he? I think he is like I think he was taken. He was like, I don't know, early, like mid-teenager. Like he was in high school and was like maybe playing football or something and was like highly recruited. Like he was probably like a very big offensive lineman, just a very big football player. The type of, he played the parts where, people would run into him over and over and over and get knocked down. And that was what he did. And yeah, I think he was taken into the hedge when he was, probably in high school. I think he probably grew up with like a single mom and like a lot of siblings that he more or less was their father figure. So he was kind of always the protector of all of his little brothers and sisters.
So what was it? Was it that to draw you in? Did they trade on that sympathy, or was it that there was sort of a pretend recruiter that made you sign a thing? What do you imagine for that?
I think maybe there was. I think it was like to draw on that sympathy of his sympathy for trying to protect kids, especially, but trying to protect in general. And maybe there was something around town where like little kids were being abducted or something, and so like there was this rumor going around of this happening, and maybe they tricked him by like staging something where like he saw somebody being dragged into the woods or something, so naturally just went off to protect or to figure out what was happening.
And what kind of ogre are you?
So I chose Blood Brute. So I imagine that he was, he was always like taking the beatings for other people, and so he just naturally he's obviously, I mean, he's always brutish anyway, but I think he is always kind of scarred and
so like a big bruised, scarred ogre kind of thing.
Yeah, like maybe he's probably even got like pieces of metal and things like that sticking out of him, like pieces of glass, shards of glass, just things where people have hit him with things and they break into him, off of him, etc., but they just kind of stay lodged in. So he's got like this, like his back is just scarred full of metal fragments and glass shards.
What does his mask look like? What do people see of you in the real world?
I think in the real world, and I'm looking for a picture for it, but I think he is. How do I describe it? He is kind of like a bodyguard type figure. So very big and bulky, but also like a very kind face to him. I think he's probably very large, like 6 foot, like 10 or something, like a very just imposing figure, even in the mortal world.
And what was the name of the place that you served your durance?
I went with Grimmer's Grindhouse. See, again, accidentally, just
I
the
know,
one
I was going to say.
Yeah.
But what did you take for your moves? And then I'm going to ask you the last of your intro questions.
Okay, yeah. So for the moves, I took Warden. So I have a real world job as a guard, bouncer, etc. And I think his real world job is he's kind of recruited into illicit trade, let's say. So like he will be the guy that escorts, I guess, or he'll be the person, the muscle on a drug deal. So he probably spends most of his days, where he's doing his job of, he will drive around escorts around town from one place to another, or, he's just doing what seem like simple deliveries, but really it's, well, we don't want somebody, to deliver this and get hurt. So we're just going to send you. And if they start any trouble, oh, well.
Nice.
So then for the 2 tags on that, I chose, he's got a glamour source as part of that. Because I think there's, with any kind of drug trade or escorting people around like that, like it is people coming to this place, or he's bringing them something that they need for. So that glamour.
Feeding on their desperation.
Yeah, feeding on desperation and or feeding on people, chasing that high or getting that high, or maybe sometimes that even he's at a party as just as bodyguard. And the other tag I chose was transport. because I think he's constantly transporting stuff around and around transport. That he could probably go to his boss and say, "Hey, I need a car for some job," and his boss would just throw him, some set of keys.
Nice. And then your other move?
And then the other move is Burning Bright.
Alliteration.
Yep, again. So you can always perform superhuman feats of strength. Your force of presence makes others secure under your protection. Once per session, you may clear all marked fear moods among your allies present in a scene.
That's nice. So the motley is a gathering together of changelings that kind of bond with a kind of a motley pledge. How did you find the motley? Did you find them and draw them together, or do you think that you just kind of happened on them, or were you assigned to them? How did that happen?
Yeah, I would think that I was, either assigned or hired or something as just muscle at first, and then just kind of grew some level of camaraderie.
Like one of the courts said, you need to help these people, you need to guard them. Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
What haven't you beaten? What is it, an obstacle or a thing you haven't been able to overcome yet?
I think I still struggle, even as powerful as I am and having these otherworldly powers, I still struggle with the law in the mortal world. I can't, at some point they can lock you up and throw you away. And so I think I still struggle with beating the law, especially in this illicit drug trade or whatever it is that I'm in. That is something that I'm still having trouble with.
Do you go back and see your family?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think maybe I've tried, but it's more that I go back and just keep a watchful eye on them sometimes. Just check up on them without letting them know that I'm there.
Okay. And what is it that you regret breaking?
I think that's a hard one, but
do you want to simmer on that one?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll simmer on that.
All right. Well, we'll come back to you on entanglements and rival. Patrick.
Hello.
What is your character's name?
You're so mean. My character's name is Falling Waters, or
nice.
Troy Holder, as his human-y name.
Okay.
He's an elemental of the Autumn Court, and the kith is metal flesh. He's his body is basically made of quicksilver, mercury, flowing and sort of amorphous, but most of the time in his mien it's contained in like a glass form. So he has like a glass skin that's containing this seething form inside. But I imagine times when he breaks out of partly or leaves that skin behind to become more amorphous.
And how does that reflect it? What does he look like in the real world?
I haven't found a good picture, but in the real world, he's sort of thin and frail. He looks sort of sickly because his skin is almost translucent, and you can very much see the veins underneath, sort of thing. Let's see, moves I have. The elemental starting move is Primal Forces, where I can channel quicksilvery energies, however that'll end up looking. But I have subsets for it with Disperse, where I can sort of lose that solid form and go invisible for a little bit, spread out. And Toxin, because that makes sense. My touch can be poisonous.
Okay.
And then my regular moves, because elementals work a little weird, is What Lies Within, which is I can contain a substance, mundane or magical, within a container, and then we have a thing of something. I thought that fit very well. And then hedge spinner is I can take things from the hedge or the goblin market or esoteric qualities that I take from mortals with pledges, and turn them into tokens, little magical items.
And it also means that you can hedge spin clothing or things like that. Normally,
Nice.
what you're wearing in your mien is what shows up in the mask. So if you're wearing armor in your mien, your mask is wearing armor, but you can spin stuff such that the clothing will change and appear normal for people, or look rather mundane.
Nice.
Let's look at your intro questions. So how are you taken?
So I think it was basically a promotion. He worked in a medical lab, sort of disease and genetic work and testing, that sort of thing. And he got wind of this like secret sort of NDA lab that was opening up somewhere in another branch of this company. Like, he really aggressively applied for it and like made sure that everything about him looked better than all the other candidates, so that he would definitely get this job, which was 100% not a job or in the real world. His keeper was Agresket Medendo, the Palace of Needles. Yeah. Warning, lots of needle stuff.
Okay.
But basically, he and the other people that got promoted into this job were sort of refined down, reduced to a base sort of magical energy, this swirling pool of quicksilver, of mercury, that is this... there's this idea that like quicksilver translates magical energy. It's like a conduit for magical energy. And so this keeper, who I think sort of their goal was to confound and ruin modern medicine by making symptoms, diseases, medicines that just like defined scientific knowledge. And so it would take like a disease or something that we understood very well and just add in random symptoms, so it would sort of halt and stumble the progress towards figuring out that disease. And so the pool of quicksilver, the melted down peoples were sort of the transmission, the medicine that carried his like sickening energies into people that got brought in for special treatments.
And your escape?
So I think my escape was I managed to stay inside of one of these test subjects, inside of one of these patients, rather than being like having my essence drawn back out after the magic was transferred. I managed to ride this person out into the real world and left them as soon as I could, but they were like, they quickly sickened and died. And it's that sort of question of like, is this what the keeper did to them, or was this because I used them as a way to escape?
And what don't you understand about the world now?
It's that like tactile sense of the world, and especially other people. Like, everything he feels is sort of through that layer of glass, so everything is cold and hard and a little bit distant, and he can't even remember at this point what like another person's skin touching his skin really feels like.
Ooh. And what do you hear when you close your eyes and listen?
I hear patients in like medical rooms being offered false hope new treatments by nurses, by doctors, by Agrescat's proxies out in the world that find him new patients to work on.
Nice. All right, we'll come back with you to talk about rivals entanglements here in just a moment.
Whew.
Let us return then back to Victory, and
Victory herself.
Victory herself. You're going to pick a rival. There's a drop down of suggested rivals.
Yes.
And then you're going to pick an entanglement from the sort of general list and one from the romantic list. And I'd encourage you that at least in one of those entanglements, you include a PC. You don't have to include them in all of them, but at least one of them. So who is your rival?
Has to be. I think Ashwine, who's a torchbearer. A torchbearer versus a figurehead sounds awesome, doesn't it? And also, he's in winter, so I'm going with that.
Okay.
And essentially, they know more about the vanishing of a friend than they've admitted.
Ooh.
So maybe a motley mate.
Okay, we'll dig into that after a bit
Okay.
here.
All right, entanglements, and I have to choose one.
One from each.
One from each.
Which do you want to do first, your general or your romantic?
Am I on the right page? I'm not. I was looking at Patrick's. I'm sorry. I will unselect Ashwine.
So let's come back to your rival.
I'm so sorry. God, I just shouldn't be left out in public. Let's see here. I'm going to go with, good. I can still choose Ashwine, and he humiliated me before the court. Annoying. This Ashwine is a big jerk.
Okay.
Whoever that is.
There is a picture. I have changed some of the NPC images you may have noticed from the previous time.
I was just noticing that. These are not the people I know.
Exactly.
So how did Ashwine humiliate you?
I don't know.
Do you want to hold off on that?
Yeah. I assume that it would be something like that. I was old and behind the times, and I couldn't possibly understand what was going on in that situation.
So Ashwine went, okay, boomer?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And it hurt all the way down to my soul.
Then let's talk about...
And I think that it was probably just something like that. Just like, okay, boomer, but I hold it. Has no memory of having done it. That's...
So what do you want to do with your entanglements now?
Okay, so these are all awesome. Let's see here. I've been ordered by my courtly superior. So let's look at my court things. This is slow. Winter. Oh, of course, I've been ordered by Abyssinian Max.
Okay.
To undercut. Let's see here. Who should I undercut?
I have to leave Abyssinian Max's picture the same.
Yeah, well, you have to because otherwise you couldn't do that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I think that I'm not sure why, but wants me to undercut Semolina Pilchard's plots.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Similarly to Pilcher being our brewer, our magical brewer in the thing.
And then I think the other one is someone. Someone possesses a secret. Now, am I supposed to choose any one?
Choose one from the top and then one from the romantic. And romantic can be
good.
just
Yeah.
affection or crush, or it doesn't have to be, intimacy.
Let's see here. I think that I gotta look at who it is that she would find attractive here. Yeah, I think that she's one of many who is attracted to Gloriana Twofold. And who is it that would have gotten in the way of that? Spinning Jenny. I think there's a three fairest triangle going on there.
Okay. So which of the two entanglements are we framing that on?
I'm sorry. Wasn't that one of mine, or did I?
Is it the thwarted desire, or
Yeah.
is it the okay? So Spinning Jenny knows about your thwarted desire for Gloriana Twofold,
Mhm.
and why are they keeping quiet about it?
She wants something from me, but I am certain of it. So.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, she's made it clear.
Yeah. Excellent. So we've got Max, Semolina, and we've got Gloriana and Spinning Jenny. Jamie, are you back? You okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks for your patience. It's
That's
getting
okay.
a little better. I also picked Spinning Jenny, so that's really cool.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Spinning Jenny is your rival.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So Spinning Jenny, Fate Spider Fares of Autumn haunts me from my durance. I feel like Jenny, I kind of like the idea that Jenny was the awful landlord of the space. It just makes sense, this whole spidery kind of situation. And so I have a feeling that whatever it was I was supposed to do, like manipulating memories, and I suspect I was one of the best, if not the best. And Spinning Jenny doesn't want me to forget that and is trying to convince me to go back to what I'm truly good at.
I like that. I like that very much. And then what about for your entanglements?
Yeah, so I wanted to see who was game for what. Like I put in NPC names, but I'd love to put NPC names. So
Sure.
the one so for entanglements, I helped drag Blank into the hedge. So and only Blank knows it. Why have they not told? Does anyone want to be dragged or to watch me drag someone into the hedge in the past?
I mean, it might make sense to have dragged me into the hedge, especially given that you went into the hedge very young, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So maybe you were part of the trick that was part of dragging me into the hedge, or you were the trick that dragged me into the hedge, and you did it yourself.
Right, because it involved children, I remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
So mine did too. How about if you dragged us both in?
Yeah, can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would like that. Cool.
I like that very much. And who knows then?
Yeah, who saw me drag them? Oh, I'm such an awful person in the past. I love it. I would say let's have an NPC hold something over me. I like the idea of beck and call. That's such an interesting idea to have associated with someone who knows what I've done.
Absolutely. Beck and call is such a nice guy. So nice. Absolutely. That's great. Yeah. And then what about romantic?
Yeah, so romantic. I decided to put in my NPC, the childhood friend. So I lied repeatedly to get close to Niani. Who is anyone interested in being their lover who suspects the truth? So I am obviously pining away for this person. But like Niani is aware of what's happening, sort of, kinda, with the Faye situation, but
Like you haven't told Niani all of the bad stuff that you did?
yeah,
Is
because
that
I don't remember it all. Like the stuff that's just disturbing imagery that I don't have it fully. I haven't told them, and that's a lot. So, but I suspect there's more that I should be saying that I haven't.
so who is their lover who is perhaps protective of them and suspects that your Durance was more sinister? Do you think that's an
Yeah,
NPC?
yeah. I'd like it to be PC, but I'm also okay with it being an NPC. Because I did drag both Sherry and Robert into the hedge already, so that's a like I don't have to drag
Yeah,
Patrick
I
into it.
think an NPC might work better on that one.
Cool. So I
Yeah,
will
I'm
pick-
just hesitating there because both of my romantic entanglements are like, you're not in a relationship or you're failing to find someone or something. Oh dear.
We'll give that a sec. Let's slug down the last of this coffee.
I just feel aged out of that whole thing.
Robert, let's we'll jump to you and then we'll come back when Jamie pops back in, okay? So for Ferris, who's your rival?
My rival, I also went with Max, who used me as a pawn against their rival.
I like that. We'll figure out about exactly what Max did. Max is very nice. Everybody, I don't know what people give him a bad rap. So which entanglement do you want to figure out?
I like the first one I have here. I destroyed something important to person one at the request of person two. What got broken? So I don't know if that makes sense for NPCs or PCs. I just like the idea that I broke something for
Absolutely.
somebody.
Do you think it would hurt more if you broke an NPCs or PCs thing?
I mean, it would probably. I don't know. I guess I'll go with maybe NPC. Maybe it's somebody in my court. Actually, yeah, maybe I broke something of hammering beats.
Okay. He's another ogre. There you go. And who told you to break that? Was it one of your fellow PCs or?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody has a good idea for that one, I think that makes sense.
I could go with that.
Okay.
So let's figure out between the two of you what is it that Ferris broke that belongs to hammering beats?
Let's see, he's a tomb shaker.
He's also a DJ.
He's also a DJ. I don't know, maybe he had found like something of one of these patients. Like one of them that died, but I suspected or knew there was a link back to my keeper and was afraid of like what might be in that corpse.
Also, just breaking the corpse itself, like just destroying evidence, or
Maybe it was like a cryptor mausoleum type thing that I asked you to get to before he could.
Like Hammering Beats for some reason is kind of following up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems reasonable. Does that work for you, Robert?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Jamie, we're going to pop back to you. So what NPC is Nani's sort of protective lover?
Yeah, it's so funny. I was in the middle of talking and I didn't realize I was disconnected. So I was like talking to myself for like a while. It's like, oh gosh. Okay.
Done that many times.
Yes. I was trying to say torchbearer, which I know Sherry picked, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah. So I know like we have a lot of characters overlapping, but I
Oh,
kind of
that's
like,
great.
yeah, I kind of like that idea. So torchbearer, elemental of winter, and I think it makes sense why they won't say that I have this person who's close to me because they shouldn't have a lover either. Like, so
Yeah, there's this
like,
there's a triangle. Nobody wants to say anything. No one wants to get in trouble.
yeah.
Oh, I like that very much. Robert, what did you want for your other entanglement?
For my romantic entanglement, I think I let somebody kick my ass in order to not alienate the object of my affection, who has a close tie to them. So I'm looking through, I guess, who everybody has close ties to. I'm wondering if maybe Ashwine makes sense as the person I let kick my ass. And then somebody who has a close tie to Ashwine, I guess, would be then the object of affection.
Yeah.
If that makes sense for one of you, or we can come up with an NPC who has a connection to them.
Both of their connections are kind of antagonistic to Ashwine.
It's true.
Do I have one for Ashwine? I don't think
that's
I have.
Torchbearer.
Oh yeah, there we go. Whoops, there we go. Yeah. Ooh.
So we can establish who's a close associate or ally or friend of Ashwine that you don't want to alienate.
Maybe I will go with I'm thinking maybe Questions So Loud, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially being somebody in my court. And I mean, I think they would have the connection of, well, they're both elementals. So maybe they have some kind of connection from when they were in the Durance together.
Yeah, the elementals is often strong because they don't understand the real world, so they kind of cling to other elementals. Okay, that works. We'll explore what that entails. And so you have a strong affection for Questions So Loud?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Patrick, Falling Waters, who is your rival?
I'm just so used to hating him, so I have to go with Beck and Call, who tricked me into a pledge, which I think just hit too many reminders of how I got taken in the first place.
Is Beck and Call the prince of spring, or just a courtier among spring?
We don't have any spring players, do we?
No.
Then I don't feel bad about deciding. No, he's always the prince. Let's have him like not in that position, but probably wanting it.
Okay.
How about Semolina as the prince?
Ooh,
Yikes.
that's great. So the Prince of Spring is a crazy brewmeister changeling. That's great.
I think that makes sense.
And then
Poor
what do you
Jamie.
think? So sorry, have days like that. So tell me about what you're thinking entanglement wise.
So I don't know the details of it, but I like person 1 gets me access to my favored glamour emotion, but my friend person 2 loathes them.
Ooh.
I think it'd be interesting to get my glamour from an NPC and then have one of the Motley mates hate them for some reason.
Okay.
I loathe most people that aren't in the Motleys.
So it's real easy for you.
So who is it that would get you this glamour, and what is your favorite glamour? The one that really sings to you? A logical one would be Sarah No Tears as the physiker.
Yeah, I was looking at Autumn, but that does make sense. No, I like that. So Sarah No Tears, physiker wizened from Winter, gets me my favored glamour, which is, like it's fear and medical waste sort of thing.
Okay.
So do either of you particularly loathe her?
Yes, she's very highly placed in the Winter Court.
Nice. Oh, and I wanted to tell you, Sherry, that while we did not choose the same picture, I have used that model
Really?
for one of my, like, the head of the gods in one of my long-running Once Again games.
That's great.
Exactly. It's like, how can you pass that one up? Once you've seen it, you're like, there is something I must do.
She's amazing.
I named her Victory herself, so we're
Nice.
on the same page.
Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so
And then your other entanglement?
Sarah No Tears. Sorry.
Oh, sure.
But you are a person, and your name is Victory.
Victory.
Gotcha. Yes.
So romantic entanglement.
I keep going back and forth between person 1 and person 2, and why are both of them bad for you? Let's see. Maybe Songbird Rex, and then I don't know. Do one of y'all want to be a bad match for me?
I don't know. It would be Robert.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking possibly.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that.
Cool.
Why are you a bad match? Also, I just want to say every time I try to go to chat, I get disconnected, so I'm scared of chat.
Oh.
I know it's not chat's fault. But anyway. So Robert, why are you bad? I need to know why you're bad for him.
I'm overprotective. Like my whole thing is just being protective, and I think the closer that you get to Ferris, the more he tries to just be like overly protective of you, even when you don't need it.
No, that's amazing because I'm literally made out of glass.
Yes. It's perfect. And why is Songbird Rex wrong for you?
So, Songbird. So I like that with Ferris, that the reason why he's sort of right is that he really does care deeply about me and my well-being, but that just goes too far. I think with Songbird Rex, the reason why he's sort of right is like his voice, the vibrations, the harmonics that come off of him. Like I can feel it when I touch him and he talks. It's almost like I can feel something again. But he's wrong because he's he's violent, angry, over the top, not in a like domestic abuse sort of way, but in a like I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what sort of shit he's going to start in any sort of situation out in public. And it's just I don't want to go there. I think like people getting injured and severely enough to go to a hospital is like a real triggering thing for Falling Waters, just because
Yeah.
it's starting to involve doctors and medicine, and that's just everything overflows at that point.
That is perfect. We are going to take about 9-10 minutes. We'll go to the hour. We'll take our break, and when we come back, we'll set up some inciting incidents. Is that cool with everyone? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just leave it for a bit to kick my router, and then I will
Okay.
come
Sure.
back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. See you guys in a bit.
And we just wait on Sherry. There we go. Oh, let me find our situational moves. Let's see. I don't think we have a roll for your party yet, so let me grab that. New room. Okay, so our roll for your party is jointly fast haddock. I put in there, and I will put it at the bottom of the first column for basic moves. So I'm going to apologize now. I'm going to forget everybody's PC name, and I'm going to try my darndest to remember it, but it is going to take me a while. I'm very bad at that. And if I get your name wrong early, it will stick with me wrong. And so I really have to make a very serious effort on this. But Crescent and Victory, you are both from the Winter Court, correct? Though Crescent has frozen here. Because this is going to be that kind of day.
I understand. It's only right and proper that she be frozen, isn't it? Court. It's the court of sorrow.
That is true. So, but let me start with you, Victory. I think we established that Max is the prince. Is that what we established?
No, I think it's someone else. I think.
Max used, yeah, so the only thing we've got about Abyssinian Max right now is that they used Ferris as a pawn.
Yeah, that he was my superior. So he's higher up in the ranks than me.
So who is the prince? Is it one of the ones pictured, or is it someone else?
Oh, I know that. Let's see here. So it's not Ashwine. It's not Abyssinian Max, and it's not Sarah No Tears, who's another rival of mine. So it must be Zetcher Mercy.
You think Zetcher Mercy is the prince?
Yes.
Of Winter.
Yes.
Is Zetcher Mercy male, female, they, them, something else?
They, them?
They, them?
And like extravagantly so.
Okay. I'm going to put that in there for reference.
In the
here.
sense that they go to great pains to be ambiguous.
So you and Crescent have been called to the court of Winter to speak before Zetcher Mercy and some of the other senior your people there. What is the Winter Court like? Like what kind of place do you meet in?
I think that it is a it's an old costume, like costume rental. And so it has like warehouses full of clothes for those holidays and for sets and things like that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that like they have racks and racks of Santa suits. They have racks and racks of, classic retail Halloween type things that people would be.
So not Hollywood quality, but real retail quality?
They have extra quality. They have extras quality, but not. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
But not front and center on the camera.
And Zetcher Mercy has called you in. They look neutral as always, and they will say, Victory, you and Crescent, we have a task for the two of you.
I'm honored, Prince Mercy.
As you should be. As you should be. I need the two of you to put together a soiree. I need the two of you to put together a party. This is not our usual thing. So I will ask that you perhaps invoke the assistance of your motley mates, though they, given what I know of them, may not be any help. But I need a soiree. I need it to be for 13 people precisely. And I need it to be themed. Can you two do this for me, your prince?
Is there any particular theme?
I leave
That
that
we may
entirely in your discretion. You both have such distinct viewpoints that I think the synthesis of your two approaches may bring us something delightful.
Very well, Prince. Oh, and then she stops and says, do you wish it to be attended by Changeling?
It will be a changeling event.
Very well.
Crescent, does that work for you?
Yeah. So, by the way, am I coming through okay?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay. So I think this whole time Crescent was just hanging out behind Victory herself and then just sort of nodding and saying, like talking to themselves. Yes, perhaps a theme on memory most faded. I think that would be delightful.
Absolutely. I'll leave the two of you to consider and discuss, but you may see yourselves out.
Of course.
So one of the good things about the Winter Court is that, I mean, the floors in here are all concrete, so her heels clack really nicely when she walks. It's like you can hear everything. Ding, ding, ding. She lives right behind you.
So let's do a little bit of the convo between the two of you before I check in with our other two changelings.
Crescent, sound like you had an idea.
Oh, so are we in our mask form or are we in our true form?
So to other changelings, you always appear without your mask unless you deliberately put your mask up. So you always see each other as you are, unless you deliberately work against that.
Right. Yeah, so I think because what Crescent looks like without the mask on is basically Slender Man, so like no face, in a suit with the little tentacles of shadow at the back. And I turn to look at Victory and say, yes, I had an idea. That memory, the moment right before it fades, when the heart tries to hold on, I think that would be lovely.
For 13. So what are the aspects of that moment, of that memory? And who embodies those?
I believe, we should invite those on the verge of forgetting, perhaps, those who exist on this twilight between the two things. But I feel you may have a different idea, or an idea that can synergize with this. I'm not as good as you are with finding what is pretty.
And she stops and she goes, well, we found the underlying theme. I mean, the underlying, what do we say, the thing that will tie it together. But I think what we need is an overarching theme that they think that they're attending to. We mean the threshold. But there has to be something else that they think they've tied together. So we'll find some sort of lovely group of 13 that this makes sense for, and they can think they're the clever ones.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
You are absolutely wonderful. I love it.
She seems very excited about this now. She's got a little notebook and she pulls it out. She goes, we just have to canvas all the courts, see what we can come together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me cut from that. We'll come back to you two, see what you're doing. Tell me, then, Ferris, what has gone wrong with this deal?
I think the stuff that we were meant to deliver, it was not enough. Maybe it was actually misunderstanding. Actually, yeah, I think it was more of a misunderstanding. I don't think anybody was trying to rip each other off. But with deals like this, misunderstandings are not really. It doesn't matter whose fault it was. It's somebody's fault.
The courier who has the stuff, who's opened the case and has looked, is sweating, and they've tried to talk it down, but you can see the buyer and his people have gotten anxious. Where are you at? What kind of location are you at?
I think we're at probably like an after hours like bootleg bar. Like after all the regular bars close, this is where people go.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell shit is about to go down. You time kind of slows for you. You see that that sense you get to that moment before violence breaks out. What do you do?
Am I there on behalf of one of the sides specifically?
I assume on behalf of the person who's brought the product there.
Okay. Okay, then yeah, in that case, at a certain point I'll step forward when it looks like it's about to go down and just kind of say, well, we brought most of what was asked for. The rest is on its way. There were complications. You have our apologies. And now we must make our exit.
So you're trying to enforce your will. You're trying to change the situation. So this is a conflict move. What mood, what emotion do you want to roll this with?
I think calm.
Okay. Then let's have you roll with calm.
Oops, so it would help if I roll actually D6s.
Those are D8s, dude.
Those are. Okay, there we go. So that is a 11.
That is an 11. So pick 3 from those results. Some basic moves, third column.
Yeah, I have a lot of tabs open. Sorry.
I know.
Okay.
We got a lot of tabs here.
Okay, so 3 options. I think I'm going to I think I'm going to confuse them because I'm basically telling them that everything's okay when it's very much not okay.
Mhm.
I think I'm going to extricate myself from the situation because that was the whole goal.
Mhm.
And I think I'm going to inflict harm.
Okay. So is this cowing them? Is that the harm, or are you physically inflicting harm?
I think it'll be physically inflicting harm because I think I kind of step up and give my spiel and kind of go to maybe like get in one of the guys' faces.
One of the
You know,
bodyguards steps up. You're tall, but they step up.
yeah, I mean, they're just doing their job just like I am, so they step up to me as I'm stepping up to them. And I just kind of, just shove them, just instinctually just shove him out of the way.
Crashes against the wall. Glasses get knocked over. Like everyone gets quiet in here. The other two see you casually drop this guy, and the person who's the buyer looks at you and says, "You should go. You should go. But I know who you are."
Good. Don't forget. And yeah, I turn around and get my guy and take off.
Okay. And your guy's like, wait, but this was a setup. They shorted us. The boss shorted me. And he's freaking out.
Well, did you look and see how much was there before we left? Did you drop it?
The boss gave it to me. I wasn't going to open it, before we got here.
Well, okay. So what do we do now? How do we get the rest of it? They're going to come for it.
He said, "Look, this is my head. This clearly I'm on the outs. So let's do this. Let's you and I split this 50-50. We'll both lay low."
No, they'll come for it. They'll find there is no laying low from the boss. He'll find us. Why don't look? I'll take the blame.
Okay.
Well, I'll take the blame. I'll go to the boss. It'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me.
But you owe me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And remember what I said. There is no laying low in this town.
No, I got it.
Okay.
Snaps shut the briefcase, and he sheepishly falls in behind you. You see that moment where maybe it looks like maybe I could get away, but he's seen you move. You're 6'10". He decides to fall in line. Falling Waters.
I had a question there, real quick.
Yeah.
That was a human there, right? The
Yeah.
guys. Can you get debts with humans?
Yeah.
Would that be one?
Yeah. So he would have a debt on Ringo, is what we're going to call him.
Ringo. Sorry, that question just popped into my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And when humans make promises to changelings, that has a magical power, even though they don't realize it. So Falling Waters, who is the prince of your court?
Oh, Autumn. Let's see if it's any of these weirdos.
Is it any of those weirdos, or is it somebody else?
Don't we have someone connected to Spinning Jenny?
Yes. Spinning Jenny is in a triangle with
Victory and Gloriana Twofold.
and also Spinning Jenny is your good friend Crescent's rival.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen Spinning Jenny sort of be taken advantage of before, so I want to see her in power. So let's make
Okay.
her the prince.
Absolutely. What is the autumn court like? Like where when you go to meet with the Prince of Autumn, where do you go?
Let's see, we're in LA. Autumn is fear. What if it's in like a giant casting agency? Like a place where all these auditions are constantly held?
Oh yeah.
And it's just this like revolving door of people's fear.
Fear and panic and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to meet the prince, you come in and it's a room and they're behind a desk with folding chairs and they're just sitting there with some headshots and you have to stand across from them.
There's a camera set up on a tripod right
Yeah.
behind them. Yeah, definitely.
And Ginny says, Falling Waters, how are you today? Are you good? Are you good? Do you need coffee? I can have a PA bring in some tea, something. Did you want something?
I don't drink. I'm fine. I'm the same.
Same as always. That's good. That's good. It's good to be steady. Good to be the same. Changes. Sometimes overrated. But changes are sometimes necessary.
Why is it so bright in here?
Lighting. It's important that we get. There's no shadows on the face when we do that. There, it's important.
I just So, how are you?
I'm good. So I've been working on some things. Been looking at some things, and I need you to do something for the court.
Oh, what does the court need? The court needs help. I can help the court.
Absolutely. Consider this the service that we ask for you for us.
Consider what?
What I'm about to ask you, the favor, the job, the task I'm about to ask you to perform.
And I just was wondering what the task was so that I would have some knowledge, going in.
One of your motley mates is Crescent, correct?
Yes.
She's in the Winter Court.
Mm-hmm. Is that camera on?
No, the light just does that thing where it...
Oh, because it looks like it, but okay, that's just, maybe I was thinking of a different model.
No. I need you to convince your motley mate Crescent that it would be in their best interest to join our court, to leave winter and to join autumn.
Is it?
You sure you don't want tea, coffee, something?
No, I don't drink.
Scotty, do you eat?
I'm good, thank you. It's fine.
I get it from this Korean cafe deli down the street.
No, but I'm sorry. Is it though?
Is it what?
In their best interest.
I said it was. Are you saying that I'm not right?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't say that. It's just they seem very happy. They've worked out. They're successful and important. I hear they're throwing a party.
Oh, they are. I wasn't aware of that. First I've heard of it.
Well, see, important, busy work. Why though?
Because I asked you to.
Oh no, not not why I would, but why you would want, why the court would need.
I've asked you to do something. If you don't want to do it, you can say no.
Oh, no, I didn't. I can talk to them certainly. I mean, I don't know if I can promise. It's not like I could just drag them here or anything.
Oh, you don't need to drag them here. But you seem like a clever lad. So I'm going to leave it in your hands.
Sure. I'll just I'll convince them that something ought to me.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely.
Good. That seems, then we're all settled then. That seems great.
Are we? Oh.
Yeah. Did you drive? Do I need to have your parking validated?
Yes, I had a slip here.
They'll see it when you go to the front desk.
Oh, so you don't? I'll
I
give
don't
it
actually.
to,
I don't
okay,
actually validate it. No.
Oh, I see. I just thought. Okay. No. I should go. Is this the? Oh no, that's a
yes,
closet.
Go. Bye. So let's come back to Victory and Crescent. You've been assigned this task. You've been told to bring your motley together on this. Do you want to do some preliminary planning, or should we pull the group together?
I think we can pull the group together.
Okay. In that case, Crescent, what is the place that your motley has? Do you have a location you meet at? Do you all live there? Do you have a clubhouse? Do you have a business? What do you imagine is your motley's den, as it were?
Yeah, I imagine it's one of those things where I feel like I'm going to base this on a place here. There's a place called the Exit Bar, and you only know the bar's there because there's just one exit door in the entire building that has a slightly different, the sign is slightly different. And I feel like in our case, if you go through the door not seeking it, the door won't open to where the bar is. It'll just open to a fire escape instead. So I feel like we exist in that in-between state in this bar. I feel like there's always a different bartender each time. And I feel each of us sees a different bartender also. Like, it's very confusing.
Like it's a kind of a magical place that your motley found and have made your own.
Yeah. I think Crescent spent time stitching the bar together for everybody. Like, it was based on the idea of what the hotel was like. So stitching together all these like defunct, closed down bars, and Crescent lovingly made it for the group, I think.
Rummaged together from bits and pieces and furniture. I assume you haven't told people that this echoes your Durance.
Yeah, I haven't. And like, I found all the bars where people were especially sad, but they're really beautiful bars.
Okay.
You know, I mean, they look good. I made sure for Victory herself that it was beautiful. So
we probably got these barflies that have stumbled in, that kind of don't know where they are. They've had, and you know, they're just more confused than anything else. But there's always good little snacks and treats and bowls on the table of all kinds there. It's LA, so a lot of the places that have closed down are probably little fusion places.
Oh,
so they have
yeah.
weird little dishes, almost like a tapas bar of finger foods there on the table. So the four of you are gathered together, probably at a table, because I don't think that Ferris can fit into a booth. And so let's come into that scene of the four of you then. Let's start with you, Victory.
Oh, yeah. So she introduces the idea. So we need to put together a party, a soiree, not just a dinner or something like that, for 13 guests. It's supposed to be themed. And well, Crescent has come up with a marvelous true theme. So, Crescent, why don't you tell them what we're thinking?
Yes. And Crescent clears their throat and says, I believe that a theme of a memory almost forgotten, on the verge of being forgotten, would be a beautiful true theme. But as Victory herself has pointed out, we have to come up with an overarching theme to pull everything together. Um, Victory herself had far better words than I in terms of that, but
Yeah, what I would like is for all of the guests to guess at what the theme is based on who the other people are that are invited. And so the easy one to do would be, since the number is 13 and that inherently is a superstitious number, that all of the changelings that are invited, they have something to do with a well-known superstition. A black cat, something about picking up a penny, not breaking a mirror. Bad luck comes in threes, rabbit's feet, knocking on wood, those sorts of things.
Oh, okay. So who are the guests?
We haven't decided that yet. We have to come up with a list of good superstitions and then who fits those well.
Wait, so you have to throw a party with a theme, but any theme, and it has to have 13 changelings, but
Yes.
any changelings?
Any changelings that fit the theme.
This is a very loosely specific party.
Exactly.
Specifically unspecific?
It is.
It's very strange.
It's a challenge. I think of it as a challenge.
And it's very clearly a ritual.
Wait, have they done this before?
No, we haven't heard of this before.
I'm new here. I'm an old person. I have a sense that the history started before I showed up. Oh. I like it. So that was what I was thinking. That would be easy. They would think that they knew where they were on to. But the theme is sort of, I think that Crescent said the memory that's about to be forgotten was like sort of being on the threshold of death, right?
yes, that is correct.
So that's a lovely theme. I mean, terrible, but awesome if we can figure that out. And then she looks at Falling Waters and stops and goes, I mean, if that's all right with you.
It's fine. It's your party. Wait, am I a guest?
No, that wasn't the intent. We know a little too much to, how should we say, I think to be a part of that ritual.
I've been ruined for the guessing game.
I apologize.
If only
We
I'd
could
been
have
later
another
to this
party
meeting.
of our own. Yes. Well, we'll order extra cupcakes. How about that? All right. So does that sound like something that we can work towards?
I think if you want something related with death, there was a ghost fruit tree I've heard about in the local hedge. Maybe I could find it, make something special for your guests to drink.
Interesting. Just as long as it's not deadly.
Oh, no, it'll just feel that way.
All right. That would be perfect. All right. But mostly what I was hoping for is that everyone could canvass their own courts to come up with people who might fit different superstitions. I know a great many of the the local changeling, but certainly not all of them. So I was hoping that you could look into it. And I know, Ferris, that you are particularly personable and you know people across all the courts. So it was particularly dependent on you for that.
I get around. I could look. I mean, I don't know a lot of these superstitions, but I think you've given us a good list. I can look.
And she sort of stops and she goes, I have looked on the interwebs. I just scrolled through until I found a good list of them. So here, and she comes back with
She's got an Ask Jeeves page up.
Ask Jeeves. Wow. Okay.
Her browser has like 15 toolbars across the top. Okay, so let's see. And that's kind of impressive on an Apple. So anyway, Apple tablets. Okay, so beginner's luck is one. Find a penny, pick it up. Don't walk under that ladder. Black cat's crossing your path. Rabbit's foot will bring you luck. Bad luck comes in threes. Don't break a mirror, or broken mirror means bad luck. Let's see here. 666, just inherently is a bad number. There's knock on wood. Oh, making a wish with a wishbone. So cross your fingers. Those are the kinds of things. Oh, no umbrellas inside. Don't open them inside. Of course, 13 itself, or Friday the 13th. That would be good. And there's lots of others, but anyway, so we've just got to do a little research and find, because I know there'll be a changeling who is somehow themed to that. There's so many fabulous, colorful names among our group, so it's very exciting.
And where do we plan to have this get together?
Well,
This is a lot.
Well, that's a good point. And it's true. So what we're looking for is a place that's intimate and comfortable, but that we can do a little bit of staginess to it. So it needs to have at least some height and a little bit more room than just the space for the table and the serving staff. So we'll be looking for sites too. That's exciting. Ooh, this is going to be very fun. He gave me no date.
Again, this is a very odd party.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we need to survey the courts to find proper guests, obviously you Victory are deeply familiar with the Winter Court and could come up with, I'm sure, plenty of candidates there. And the people in Autumn, well, I just don't get very close to them very easily. But shit, names. Crescent. I was doing so well. Crescent, you know many people and are good at talking to them. Perhaps you could come help me with the Autumn Court. We could meet some Autumn Court people and you could talk to them and maybe you would like them and think about, well, that's not important.
Yes, usually people like me sometimes. There's usually screaming involved, but yes, we could do that, of course.
That's often a positive in the Autumn Court.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm so glad you asked me. Actually, do I want to try this move?
Yeah.
100%. What move?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about skimming the surface. Skim the surface.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you touch someone. And like I also want to say that it's not like Crescent is doing it on purpose. Like it's just something that they pick up.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm actually feeling joyful because you asked me to come along with you. So that's like I'm rolling it a +0, but okay. I like these emotional games because it forces you to be honest while you roll. Like, it's so hard to lie about what you're feeling. So that is a 7. Wow, like on the dot. Okay.
Okay.
On a 7 to 9, ask 1. Yeah, let's see. What is your character thinking about right now? Who are you protecting? Why are you keeping secrets? Ooh. Do I want to be? Um, Oh, you know what? I think I want to know, what is your character's hidden pain?
Ooh.
Hmm. It's. I think you first notice it because it feels cold, like that draws to the winter part of you. And it's you like focus in on this resonance where Waters was saying that like he doesn't get close to the people in his court, or he corrected himself from saying that they don't get close to him. It's this like distance that no one will come close, no one will touch him. He's strange and awkward, and people just keep their distance from him. And it's that like separation. It's that like glass wall between him and everyone else that he can see through but not touch through.
Yeah, and I think when Crescent senses that, they don't look at you directly. Like, well, I mean, I don't have eyes to look with, but the face is not directly looking at yours. But they place a hand near your hand, and they say, "I enjoy this opportunity to get closer with you. I do consider you to be close to my heart always."
That is, thank you.
Yes, yes. I did not mean to say that out loud, but I'm glad I said it.
Oh, I'm sorry I listened then.
Oh no, that's okay. That's my mouth's fault. It talks on its own sometimes.
Oh, yes. Oh, all right, good. So we'll look at people and talk about guests.
Yes, yes. I'm sure we will do well. And Victory herself will be pleased with us.
And she looks up from her computer. Oh, I'm sure I will be. You two are just lovely.
Yes, that's nice. Y'all continue on.
And I think we've got a task that's ahead of us. We've got that, and we'll start out there. There's a little complication, some pressure on Falling Waters, some trouble in the job for Ferris, some questions about why this whole thing is going on next time, and we'll take up then, and we will roll forward. I'm going to go ahead and give everybody 3 XP to Mark, just because I want to. And we will take up in a week. I usually do stars and wishes every other session, so we'll do it at the end of next session when we've had a chance to play through. Between now and then, if you go back and look at your character, you're like, I want to change this pick, I want to change this move, or these stats around, feel free to do that. Nothing is set in stone. And if you have any questions between now and then, please go ahead and send them on. Is anybody okay with this being posted? Okay, great. Then I am going to stop the recording here.